The point of privilege was also gavelled down, and the chair continued to press for people to stand. So, at that point, there was nothing to do but to stand in opposition against the slate. The rule change went on to say that if the motion to approve the nominations committee's report and elect those nominees was defeated, then nominations could be taken from the floor.
How backwards is that? I mean, that's absolutely backwards.
Yeah, it's upside down. When the river's going your way, you just get in there and paddle for everything you're worth. And if you happen to be standing on the shore watching the race, you can continue to watch the race. Yeah. That's kind of the message. So at that point, of course, the voice vote was very close. And so several of us stood to our feet and we requested a division of the assembly. At which time, 4 tellers were appointed, 2 for each side of the room, which had an aisle down the center. And these 2 gentlemen...
Division of assembly just simply means...
You're going to stand or raise hands so that you can actually have your vote counted. All right? Not a roll call, so it's not like Christine voted this way and so forth and so on.
But when they did this, and they picked their counters...
Oh, yeah.
Did they pick a counter from an opposing side?
Well, we have no way of knowing for sure, because for myself, I only knew one of the people who was asked. And I trust this gentleman very clearly. But the others, I have no idea.
But needless to say, I mean, I think they're supposed to pick one from, at least one from each side.
Well, technically, yes. I mean, that should have been a query from the chair.
Right.
With those who stood against, please stand. And then 2 individuals should have been chosen from those who were against the slate, as well as 2 who were for. Right. And they should have checked each other's counting.
Right.
Okay, that's how that's supposed to be done, so that you have authentication of the vote. This all went by, and we lost in defeating the motion by 28 votes. And it went that way with every slate, with everything. It was always the same people standing for and against. After 45 minutes of discussion, following the adjournment of the caucus, where we presented our case in terms of Robert's rules, national rules, state rules, we did what we could in good conscience to inform the rest of the delegates of the abuses of their rights that had just transpired. On my way out the room, I was near the last to leave. It occurred to me that I didn't know how many eligible voters were in the room. Duh. And of course, the chair never announced. There was never any indication of the number of eligible people present in the caucus.
How convenient.
Which kind of now strikes me rather like, So, and there were no abstentions entered, only for and against. So I stopped outside the door where there was an elderly lady standing who had been amongst the group that had given us our credentials. And I asked her, could you tell me how many eligible voters were present in the caucus? And she said, surely. I don't actually have the number on the top of my head, but yes, you can have that number. And so she turned on her heel, went back inside the room, and then spoke loudly to a woman who had just preceded her into the room and asked her to tell me the number of eligible voters present in the room. Well, she motioned to me. Motioned to me to come. So I went forward and I stood with her on the riser at the front of the room, where she then pawed through this box of credentials that had been undistributed, and she found the sign-in sheets that each one of us had signed as we presented our IDs. And I counted with her the names, and we literally counted together, verifying 153 signatures. The number of votes actually present in the room was 29, more than that. So there was a problem here.
Wait a minute. You're just saying that they counted 29 more votes than what was
were present
written
and eligible when they reported the yeas and the nays.
29 invisible people.
Yeah. Vote early and vote often, I guess.
And do I assume it helped their cause?
Well,
it's almost identical to the number by which the motion to accept the slate as elected was defeated. Or, you know, so, yeah, the numbers obviously don't come together. Well, I immediately, when I discovered this, my heart sank, number one, and then I went immediately to talk to my county chairman on the floor of the convention, Steve Shine, and I said, Steve, do you realize this? He said, no, unbelievable. But then he did nothing. So then I went to Dennis Cruz, my state senator, and I said, Dennis, what would you do? He said, oh, I'd go see Murray Clark, state chairman of the GOP. Well, I tried to find Murray after the convention. I tried desperately. As soon as I had a minute, I went back inside after the proceedings were shut down, trying to find him. I asked several people, do you know where Murray Clark is? No, don't know where he is. And so I was unable to actually address Murray Clark. Today I realize the foolishness of even thinking that Murray Clark is going to entertain a problem like this. And in fact, I emailed Dennis Cruz this morning and I said, well, Dennis, nothing has happened.